Hello, everyone, and welcome to Retention Chronicles. Very excited to have both Jules and Stace, co-founders of OME Gear, here on the podcast today. It's been a pleasure to get to know you two, even just through our brief call. I was super excited that finally today is the day that we get to record. So if you could intro both yourselves and then also your brand for our audience, that would be great. Jules, let's start with you.
Well, you got it. Thanks for having us, Mariah. It's fun to be on this with you and get to know you as well. So I'm Jules, and married to this lovely human here to my right or your left, and grew up in Pennsylvania and now live in South Carolina. So that's me.
Yep. And I am Stace, and obviously I'm married to her. Well, and actually this is how we are all the time. So this is not just because we're on a podcast. And I am from Aiken, South Carolina. Also the co-founder of OME Gear, Oceans plus Mountains equals Earth Gear. And yeah, so I've never lived out of South Carolina. This is home.
And okay. OME Gear is an outdoor company. And so we make products that help transport things. So either transport gear, or eventually we'll be making a product that will help transport people. And so transforming products are kind of what is our thing. And so our flagship product is the Wanderer. And it's an invention that Stace and I came up with. We reinvented something that my parents came up with 25 years ago. So completely redesigned the whole thing and are taking that to market.
Love it. I also should have asked, I always normally do this, but I'm glad you called out. So it's OME, not OME. So I didn't even realize that it was an abbreviation, and that is on me because I was all through your website and it didn't even click that it would be an abbreviation instead of just its own word. So can you, because I watched your TED Talk, obviously I had to, even though, like I told you both, I try and purposely not do a ton of research so that we can have conversation on the podcast, so my listeners aren't just hearing me get into the nitty gritty of things. So can you give just a summary real quick of how you took your parents, their idea, and really saw their dream come to light?
Yeah, I was working for PricewaterhouseCooper as a business management consultant, and honestly got to a point where I wanted to do something on my own. I didn't want to work 80 hours a week for somebody else. And so I thought of my dad's idea that had been dormant on a shelf for 12 years. And I called him up and just said, "Hey, Dad, what would you think about me trying to take your product to market?" And through tears, he said, "Honey, that would be a dream come true." And he assigned the patent over to me. And which if you think about it, 12 years later, the product was a 2-in-1 transforming product, but it was all plastic and it was big and kind of clunky. And so I picked it up and redesigned it into like a 2 or 3-in-1. So completely redesigned it, partnered with a manufacturer out of North Carolina. And initially, like some marriages, it was a match made in heaven. And then 6 months in, we were like, oh, this is not a good partnership. And so I ended up walking away from that. And then Stace and I in like 2017, 2018 said, gosh, nobody has stolen this idea, which happens a lot. What if we completely redesign it a third time? And that's what we did. And so we completely redesigned it into a 5-in-1. So it's now a cot, a cart that hauls up to 150 pounds of gear, a high camping chair, a low beach chair, and a lounge chair that reclines. And so we worked with a company out in Michigan, spent, over $350,000 on the design of it, because it's a really complex idea to make 5 products be one, and it still have a small footprint. And so that's what we did. And it's been a roller coaster of ups and downs, but we believe this is exactly where we're supposed to be.
I love it. So you're taking something and obviously like adding more usability into it, with it going from a 2-in-1 to a 3-in-1 to a 5-in-1. With the design of it, are you rolling out like at once you have all these ideas that you could transform it into to become the 5-in-1, or is it kind of like a domino effect where now you start thinking about different things, and then it's like to get to the three in one to the five in one, are you I guess is there a four in one in the middle where you're kind of thinking like incrementally as you're designing what the potential could be there?
Yeah, good question.
I'll answer that, because the former company, I came in on the end of it, and that product was it was not a transformable unit necessarily. It was two things that you put together, and then you had that would make a cart. And then you had a base, and then you had the chair as the back end to make the cart, and then you would unhook everything. And then you had two different height chairs that you could choose from. Individually, like one chair didn't become two heights. It was a low chair or a high chair. And so like my parents ordered one, and my dad likes the higher chair, my mom likes the lower chair. So they had two chairs, but they nested in together and still work together. It was a great design, but we needed something that was not going to be as bulky. And so that's when we wanted it to do everything. We wanted to do the high chair. We wanted to do the low chair. We wanted it to be a comfortable lounger. We wanted it to be a camping cot. And then it's actually evolved even further. What we have found in cot mode, if you put up all the legs, you can...
only the wheels on the ground.
Where only the wheels are on the ground. We have straps that we created that it carries paddle boards, surfboards, kayaks, even two kayaks. So, it just is ever evolving. And then a lot of people use it in kite mode with all the legs down. And they use it for like a bench when they're sitting on the beach and they have their children, and they have 4 children, and they're all sitting there eating their lunch. They can all sit on the bench instead of sitting on the ground. And so it's just ever evolving product that our customers are coming up with new ways to use it, and it is fun. But we're always forward thinking, like the next product. We have a litany of products coming, and all of them, our whole point of the company is being a multi-use product, where we're getting rid of things out of your garage and taking up less space, and you can use it for multiple activities or multiple things that you need. Tools.
Okay, love it. So I have so many questions. But first I'm going to tackle, I love the point that you make, that the last point you just make. So I'm going to walk backwards, of trying to take things like out of your garage and make them multi-use. I feel like right now, and I'm curious to see if you both agree, there's a lot around just sustainability in products, of like how many times you can use something for different methods or different to solve different issues that you're coming around, or that are surfacing in your life. And then I also feel like the nomad lifestyle of moving around and maybe living in an RV for a bit, or having less, maybe like bigger furniture or bigger pieces that you would have to move around with you, is kind of a trend as well. At least that's what I'm seeing, social media, friends, whatnot. And I know you two lived that life for a while. So is that something you're seeing as well, just generally with society, of like trying to own less stuff, but also when you do own something, having it be a more equitable, or more, what's the word I'm looking for? A more efficient product, I guess.
I mean, you can kind of follow the trends on Netflix, right? There's a whole series on downsizing your life. And we never expected that we were going to have to do that. And the backstory of that, if you've heard our TED Talk, is because we did like our stuff. We had a nice home, and we liked our space, and we liked our things, but we had to sell our home and sell everything, probably 95% of our stuff, to save our company. And so, and the only option was, because our house sold in 4 days, it was like, oh, what are we going to do now? Was to jump in an RV. But when you're living in an RV, and you're there living for 2.5 years in an RV, you have to, every little bit of space is precious. Not to mention, you can only carry so much. You can't pack, 3,000 pounds of stuff in an RV and travel safe. down the road. So you have to be very aware. And so we made sure that anything we had, it had multi-uses, and which was good because we have a multi-use product. And that's what a lot of people have gotten rid of their wagons and their other things out of their garage and just hung up one thing, the one wander or two wanders, depending on how many are in the family and how many want one. So, I mean, that has been, and that is our sustainability platform, is that we can get rid of the junk and add a quality product that's going to last you more than a season.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And hopefully too, if you don't already have some of the things that the Wander is solving for, then you don't even have to get it in the first place, right? Like I can only imagine what my parents, I think I told you both that I grew up in New Jersey, very close to the beach. So my parents always, when we would go to the beach, had to lug around like the quintessential, right? Like 3 young kids, and they were just packed with stuff like coolers, everything that you could possibly need. For a day at the beach. And so when I saw your product, I sent it immediately to my mom. I was like, look at this. Like, and she was like, because she knows I'm in the space, obviously. But she was like, yeah, people are just so smart these days, thinking of stuff that like I wish I had, but it's nice that we have it now. She's like 20, 30 years ago when you all were younger would have been, she's like, I can't even explain to you how many like quarrels it probably could have solved, which is big families of trying to get everyone on the beach out of the car, into everything, or even like concerts or tailgating, all those things, where you typically have to load up a lot of stuff.
I mean, but my mom, she's 73, and she and my aunt love to go to the beach. My dad, not so much. But my mom and my aunt, and they take their wonders every time, and they load them up. They're not carrying their bulky lounge chairs anymore. They put their bag on it. They just roll it right onto the beach and use it from their timeshare. Is probably a good half a mile walk to the beach. I mean, and they're fine. They're not having to stop and reposition anything. Like
switch hands, Yep.
Or my dad, if he does to go, he'll throw his wander on there and grab my aunt's and put her wander up, so that he's carrying three wanders or 2 wanders on a wander with all their stuff, and he just carries it for them, so it's like, and then he's not so upset when he gets to the beach, and he can actually enjoy the beach when he gets there. So I think that was the reason my dad's so bitter about the beach. He's like, I've had to haul all your crap.
Yeah, exactly. You have to basically transport, everything, half the house to the beach, and then you can't even enjoy it because you have to bring it back. So, oh my God, I get that. I've also seen too, like, just a lot of carts, which marketing is probably just come in for me because living in a city, granted it's Indianapolis, but it's very walkable, but like Chicago, right, also in the Midwest, just people being smarter about like groceries and not having to lug them around. It's one of those ways where technology just, you can be in awe on it because you're like, oh yeah, well, obviously, why wouldn't we just want a little added convenience? There's enough things that are hard, right now. So one of the other things, now going back, one more, I guess, statement or bullet point, is the different ways and customers finding out different ways that they can use the Wanderer. So are you finding that out just like organically, seeing stuff on social? Are people reaching out to you? Do you have some like program in place where, you're incentivizing, or you're asking, you're motivating customers to share all the ways that they're using your product? What does it look like behind the scenes there?
So our customers are really important to us because we're still a startup, and so we're still real gritty and scrappy, and hopefully this will always be the case for us, but our customers are really important. So every purchase that happened through our website, I send them a personalized email, and I just say, hey, this is Jules. This is not a form email. This is really me writing to you. And I would love to see how, 1, you heard about us, and 2, how you use your Wanderer, right? And so people write back and they're like, oh my gosh, like this rarely happens when I buy a product where I actually get an email from one of the founders. And then I'll always write them back again so that they know it really was me and I really did read their email. So that's one of the ways, because a lot of times customers will send us pictures and say, I mean, we've gotten them, people using them at the equestrian field. We've gotten them, people using them hunting, where they carry their deer that they've, killed out from the field or wherever in the woods. We've gotten them from people using them on boats, where they go and anchor out to like this island and then they use their wander, on the island. We've gotten them from a guy who was building something at his house and he loaded up 4x4s on it and carried it. We've gotten it from a woman who loaded up her big bin of leaves and carried it down to the curbside, so it's really cool to be like, oh my gosh, like this is how people are using them. And then, and then we'll share it on social media to go, this is not just for the beach, like, or not just for camping, or, I mean, it can literally be used anytime you need to haul something somewhere and then have seating options once you get there, So yeah, I mean, it's been really fun and we always write back. We always try to, promote it on social and, yeah, our customers just really matter to us.
Yeah.
My dad used this to carry mulch around the yard for mom to look for her flower bed.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. I'm trying to think through like other use cases, which will take me so much longer.
Oh, but I wanted to follow up, sorry, on the other point of that. So we're about to put together an ambassador program. We're going to call it Ambassadors. And we want like certain customers to use it and share it, because the best way that we can sell these things is word of mouth. And our customers tell us, they're like, we love this and we hate it. And we're like, oh no, why do you hate it? And they're like, because anytime we go anywhere and we're using it, we get stopped 5 times and say, what is that thing? Where did you get it? Like, that's amazing. And so then they have to stop and do a demo. But for us, we're like, all right, we have to pay attention to that, because when a customer does a demo, it's so much better than us doing a demo, because people are like, oh, this thing is awesome. You've got to see it. And so we're going to put our customers in the driver's seat and send them swag each month, of like OME cool stuff, but also give them money when they sell a wander. So we'll give them a certain code and let them actually go out and, do the frontline sales for us. And they're so stoked about it. So that'll roll out in 2024. And we're really excited about that.
Oh, I love that. That reminds me of, so we had, are you two familiar with the CrossNet brand at all? It's like
Greg, we love them. They're
yes. Okay. Awesome. So we had him on here and, Greg, that is, and he was, yes, Greg. Yep. And he was telling me just how much like they were getting stopped in the street. And it was obviously, it's part of your approach to wanting to play, and like a game is such a good thing to do that with, because you're very active. Like you seem very approachable because you're with their game when you're like outside, right? There's a lower barrier of entry. And he graciously enough sent me one, because I was telling him the previous week we had been playing so they had sent me SmashNet, which is their newer game, and then the CrossNet my friend has. And so we were playing at his lake house. And so I was just like, okay, ironic, one of those simulation moments, right? I get to talk to the founder next week. So I was telling him, and people had stopped both for CrossNet and SmashNet to ask and just be like, what game is that? Because it intrigues, because it's something new. And I was so shocked. One, we were playing at a lake house, like I said, and then SmashNet, we were playing Lakeshore Drive in Chicago. And the amount of people that just I could like see their eyes, because he was just like sitting next to us when we weren't playing. So they were like pointing right, like the same that we all would have done, pointing and looking, and like some were brave enough to come up and ask us what it was. And then, I could say like, oh, blah, 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 SmashNet new game, if you know CrossNet, all that stuff. And it is correct in that the strength of word of mouth marketing and hearing from someone else who, even if you don't know them, is powerful. But if you do know them, there's an added level of trust in that you all don't have to try to convey information and educate while you're also trying to create the established relationship. So it's way easier to use the trust that's already established in your customers to then have them portray what the strengths are with your product and like how they love it and how they see it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, if we could do all of our marketing that way, we would.
Right.
Yeah.
I hope there's not a marketer in the world who would think otherwise, because I think it's
right?
smart. Is there a program that you're like a software that you're using for that affiliate program, or is it going to be like one-to-one or a curated list of top X customers that you all are reaching out to, that you all are taking in-house and
it's going to start
it
that way. It's going to, because we have some incredible customers who have said, hey, do you have any kind of ambassador program? So those are the ones that we're going to start with. And then of course, as it gets bigger, we're going to have to get a software program that we manage it with. But initially we're going to have somebody on our team who runs that whole program, and she's perfect for it. She's really outgoing and all of that. So we can't wait to launch it for sure.
I love that. Yeah. Were you going to add something, Jules, or I feel like I heard you. Okay.
Yeah.
Like to check in. Okay, awesome. How did you meet Chris and Greg? I always just like to ask.
Do you want to go during COVID? I mean, in the outdoor gear space, I mean, I think that we all kind of came together because of manufacturing and all the wars. I think we met them because I remember seeing CrossNet in one of our neighbors, and we sent them video.
Well, and I'm super active on LinkedIn, and so I think initially I connected with Chris on LinkedIn, and then got him on our podcast, Do It in Nature, and that's how we sort of evolved. And now we're really good buddies. We go to a lot of the same trade shows and share a lot of like war stories with each other and make introductions to different people. So
they're good guys.
Yeah. We're kind of in the trenches with those guys. They're awesome.
I love it. Yeah. From what I can tell from not being in the, outdoor space and going to these trade shows, they're very willing to share and to get in the trenches, talk through different solutions, different problems, all that jazz. So I love that. Okay. And I was also curious if one of them had popped on your podcast, because I know they obviously are big into the whole world of just sharing and thought leadership. But okay, so I'm going to pivot from talking about just founding story. And I want to know, like, early days, what was it like building out a website? Like, you have this awesome idea. How then, before, your customers can market and before you can roll out an affiliate program, how are you building the website? How are you thinking about like the operations, logistics, funding? What is like, how do you go even about that if you're trying to create a successful brand?
Ooh, that question is like
a hard hitter, I know.
I mean, but it's a great question, and we get it asked all the time. Like, people come up to us all the time. I have this idea. Like, what would you recommend are the first steps? And I mean, I would say if anybody has an idea and they're thinking about taking the product to market, the first thing that they have to remember is it costs more, it takes longer, and it's harder than you would ever imagine, right? And so with that sentence in mind, it's, do I have what it takes? Because it requires a level of grit that not everybody has. I mean, it is one of the hardest things, taking a product to market. That being said, thankfully, we had an amazing team right out of the gate, one of which was my brother, and he's a brand expert. And so he built out our website. And so that was an incredible gift that we had from him. Like, he came up with the logo, with the colors. I mean, obviously with our input. But that was really huge for us. A lot of times you have to look bigger than you really are, and a good website can help you do that. And so when we would go to trade shows early on, when all we had was a prototype, where people were like, man, you guys seem like you're an established company. And we weren't, I mean,
like, now, little do you know.
But when you have good branding, it automatically makes people think that you're more established than maybe you are. So it's really important. As far as like, manufacturing and funding, you want to take a stab
Well,
at that?
first of all, it's funny you asked that because Jules and I have written a book where it's in editing phase right now, and it's literally about what it takes to take a product to market, and it's the first of a 3 series. And so this is a book, and we're going to put it into we're going to put in, what is it? We're going to give you a synopsis of it. I was trying to make up a word there.
I like to do that all the time,
Yeah. I mean, I have to go back. So, I mean, back to our team is Jules and I have done a really good job about putting people in the right seat on the bus. And that's mostly. Now, we have spent a ton of money that we wish we had back on marketing companies that did not follow through or did not do what they said they were going to do. And so that's super important when you're starting out as a startup, to be careful of who you're bringing in and who you're paying.
Yeah.
And so that was a lesson. That was a very hard lesson for us to learn. And
nobody cares about it like you do.
Yeah.
They just,
but with funding, you're always going to need more money than you think you do. And so you need to ask for it. And then with manufacturing, it depends on manufacturing, but there are so many people out there. I mean, Jules and I we are not the smartest people in the room. And so we've surrounded ourselves with smarter people, and we're not afraid to ask. We're not afraid to ask the hard questions. We're not even afraid to ask the easy questions, that we may not have the answer to, but somebody else may come up with, I can help you with that. And so we have built, and we're about building relationships. And so we've built relationships that we have learned from the experts, where we are quickly becoming the experts, and I don't think we'll ever quit learning, because I think there's always something we can learn. So with funding and manufacturing, it's a full-time job, to raise funds, and it's a full-time job with manufacturing. And we always have to stay ahead of the curve too. You just, we're not a one-hit wonder, because that's the name of our product. We have other products that are coming out behind it. And so we're staying ahead of everything else, because we know eventually we're going to probably get knocked off. And so we just have to be ready for the next product and the next series and the next adventure. And so it's just staying ahead of the game.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you brought up like having a really strong website, the notion that that can make you appear bigger than you are, or more established than you are. And I think that's one of the things that us also, like being in the startup world and the Shopify ecosystem, when you're having a lot of startups and awesome brands hit the market, is you like run the risk of oversaturation, right? But with a really established or a really well curated website that portrays the brand in a way that can put, from a consumer point of view, put one brand higher than the other, I think it's a really smart play. And I think it's sometimes really hard to quantify. I see this a lot with social media too, where like the influence and the impact of branding, obviously we all know it's hard to quantify, but with social media, what I've seen that's kind of equivalent to website branding is also the like website or the social presence. And I don't even think that equates to a big following, but a loyal following. So I don't know how you two feel about that. Because I think like big followings, it can come with a lot, and you can get there a lot of different ways. Some way easier than others. Like if you go viral, right? I think nobody would disagree with the fact that that would probably be a very efficient way to have a large following. But what I've seen with the brands that I shop with is like a lot of engagement and a lot of reviews from customers, like in the comments. So I don't know if you two have thought through that at all of like comparing website shopping and social media and how you all think about it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. So we have a great loyal following, right? And what I've been seeing is with brands now, they want to connect to the founders. They want to hear from the founders. And I think TikTok um, has been a big proponent of this, and a big reason for this is because you can hold up your phone and get on and talk about your business and show the behind the scenes. And even if you have a big company, people feel like they know you, which is really cool. So TikTok has been really significant for us, where our product is so demonstrable that we can put on a 20-second video, and we've gone viral a bunch of times, because people love to see that. They love to see the transforming, but then they also love to hear from us, and they love to see, oh my gosh, it's two 50-year-old women who are doing this, who left their jobs, went all in, and are making this work, And so people love to connect with that story. And they feel like they know us, which is really cool. And we've been to trade shows, and people will walk up and go, oh my gosh, I follow you on LinkedIn, or I follow you on TikTok, or I follow you. And it's the coolest thing, because not that we're celebrities or influencers by any stretch, but it's to feel connected because of something we put out there. It inspires us to keep doing more, because it makes that long barrier where people felt like, gosh, I'll never know the people who've invented this, to walk up to us and go, my gosh, hi, I'm Jules, this is Stace, it's so nice to meet you. And so social media is really, really significant for us. We have a private Facebook group called OME Gear Insiders, where we share kind of the behind the scenes stuff. And so that's even on another level of, people who we're really connected with and want to be more connected with. So social is really important to us. When we're waiting, we told you before we went live, we're waiting on a large investment. And once that comes through, we're going to be very, very purposeful to not lose the personal touch of our company. We want to stay right on the front lines, and connected to our customers.
I love that. The notion of wanting to continue to be the face of the brand. I think it's something that I was not aware of before entering this industry, and not aware of how as a consumer, the difference that it makes when you do recognize a face with a brand. And now that I'm in this space, of course, I tell all my friends about it, and I'm like, okay, but do you recognize Barstool, right? They're not in the Shopify ecosystem, but they have, and I know this because one of my friends is working on a project with them, but so it's very top of mind. But the reason that they have such a big following is because Dave Portnoy is the face of the brand, and he's out there, he's in front of people, whether you like him or not, who he is, and he is truthful to himself, which I think that is portrayed through the screen. And so many other brands, the same, I would say the same thing, but that's one that comes to mind where I'm like that. And I tell my friends, I'm like, that's exactly what at Malomo, the importance of the brand is what we're seeing. Right. And so I love that you all are aware of it and know the importance of, once you do get that investment, you don't want to lose that because you've seen the influence that it has. I also wanted to say that, so in regards to people coming up to you and saying, I've seen you on TikTok, or I follow you on LinkedIn, or maybe listen to your podcast. One of my podcasts that it's called Armchair Expert. It's with Dak Shepard and Monica Padman. Love it. And they talk about the parasocial relationship that forms because of podcasts and because of communities that you're in online. And ever since I heard that, it was one of those moments where I was like, oh my God, now I have a name to what I've been feeling.
So true.
So I feel like that's exactly what's happening to everyone, whether it's through podcasts, through LinkedIn, through communities Facebook groups and all that jazz. And it's something that now I preach about nonstop because I like having a name for it. But even though it's parasocial, if that's what a parasocial relationship, I don't think it's inauthentic, if that makes sense, right? You still very much know the person because you're hearing what they're saying, or seeing what they're saying, but it just isn't the maybe type of relationship we're used to, because technology and be able to chat online is still so new in the time frame of our, of humans being alive.
Yeah.
So it's all so interesting, and
Yeah,
I
it
love
is.
chatting
And
about
what
it.
I know I love it too. And what Stace and I have often found is that, at least in the past, you wouldn't hear about any of the struggles of growing a business. You just see the success, right? Like all of a sudden, this founder has this incredibly successful business. And what I love and what I'm drawn to in the founders are the ones who share the hardships along the way, because that feels more relatable to me, right? And so I can connect with that, and I can go, gosh, if they can do it, I can do it, right? And not feel like they're way up here and I could never reach the success that they have. And so that's one of the things that Stace and I are really committed to is, I mean, maybe especially with female entrepreneurs, because I think even statistics say our road is harder, right? And it's not like woe is us, but our road is harder. Only 1.6% of funding goes to women. Manufacturing relationships are harder with women because people think they can take advantage and we don't know as much. And sitting in boardrooms is harder for us women. I mean, just everything. Now, I think the tides are changing, and we anticipate and are fully committed to being a part of those front lines of change, which we're really, so stoked about. But it's there. We have to have people rise up and say, this is hard, And so our whole mantra is we want to fill in the potholes with rocks so that people behind us have an easier road. And so if we need to get on social media and we need to say, today sucked. I mean, it sucked. Like, it was so hard, but tomorrow's going to be better, or maybe it won't. But
the season sucks.
Yeah.
Just to make it make us approachable and make the journey more approachable. That's what we're committed to.
Jules and I have a business coaching and consulting firm, and we have a client that's going through a tough time, a personal tough time. And she's also a business owner. And yesterday I had to take off the coaching hat and put on the personal hat and say, listen, we understand where you are. And I think that, and then when I wrote this long synopsis that we've been training in God's gym for the past 3 years. I mean, it's the hardest workout we've ever done in our life. And she's now part of that gym. She's getting a taste of that training. Yeah. And all that to say is, it's okay to be vulnerable to people who look to you for advice or think that you have it all together. And it's okay to drop that curtain and say, I don't have it all together every day. And yes, it may be getting easier, and things that I'm learning new tools, I'm discovering new tools and learning how to use new tools. But just because I'm a business coach doesn't mean I have all the answers for myself, and so it's really, and that makes us more relatable. That makes us more approachable to people. And it's funny, we get that. We will go to a trade show and they're like, you're the chair girls. That's what we're 50. Oh, she's 52 and I'm 51 and we're still the chair girls. We'll be chair girls.
It'll stick forever. Yep.
Forever. And I'm like, okay, I'm 12. And people recognize this, and people recognize her because Jules, because she's so active on LinkedIn and gives so much good stuff, good nuggets on LinkedIn. That is, I love it. I love what she's doing on LinkedIn. I love the connections, and I get to be a part of those connections via her, her LinkedIn presence. And it's just, we've just built some really great relationships. And I think it does make us more approachable. With her presence on LinkedIn. And I'm not a big fan of TikTok. Jules does all the TikTok, and she has the bag and plead and for me to get on a TikTok, and every now and then I'll show up, but she just does a phenomenal job on social media. And then we have our interns that we have
a team behind that too,
that does a phenomenal job as well. So
I can't wait to go stalk your LinkedIn, or not. Well, yes, LinkedIn, but TikTok as well.
Oh, awesome.
After this. After I chat with someone is when I let myself, just like absolutely go wild on social media.
I mean, but the thing is like, life has been happening for us outside of OME Gear. And so I've been slack actually on posting videos. So it's like, it's easy to get out of the routine. And really, truly, if you're active on TikTok, it's at least 3 to 4 videos a day, which is hard to keep up with, especially as a founder to, try to do that. So this is a great reminder to me to get my butt back in gear. And
well, I promise I am not judging. I can't even imagine. Social falls under.
She's gone viral 3 times on TikTok.
Well,
there you go.
Maybe more than that.
Anyway, it's been great.
Or more than,
like we said at the top of this call when we hopped on, even before we started recording, we're manifesting all the good vibes.
Right.
So another viral video is right on the horizon. I do want to talk. So yeah, one of the things I was just chatting about with one of our partners earlier in the week was how difficult social is. And I feel like a lot of the times, and I don't know if it's just because I am Gen Z, but a lot of the times it's I think social gets the perception that it's like really easy, or just like anyone can do it or like go viral, because a lot of people we've seen, like celebrities nowadays, a lot of them are from these platforms. And so I think it gets the notion, or the bad, not maybe bad, but the reputation sometimes that it can be really easy and you just like have to post, or like once you hack the algorithm, you'll get it. Which maybe there's an ounce of truth in some of those things, but the routine of it is really difficult, especially on TikTok, where everyone's still figuring it out. But having to upload so much content, I think it's a really good point that I think our listeners will appreciate, because a lot of the times when we talk about social, it's the strategy, not so much the, I guess, not durability, but the willingness to like fully buy into social media to kind of get it to pay off and to get it to a point that you want it to be at. And it's not an easy task. So I admire you for doing it, because I know it is, it can be messy, and it can be
a full-time job.
Yeah.
It's a full-time job just for her to do the video, then edit it, then add music if she needs to add music, then post it, and then the comment. And she replies to every single one of the comments.
Hats to you. That's incredible. Yeah.
And so it's I mean, she's so personal with it. I don't have a thick enough skin. People are mean. I can't do it. But she does. She takes it, and she's so, even to the mean people, the people that just have nothing better to do than break people down.
Your typical internet troll,
Yeah, right. She is so kind with her reply, where other customers read her reply and they will private message her and say, I don't know how you do it. I would have done this, but and then we get, all of a sudden we have a customer for life just because of the way she replies.
Yeah, it does show, even if it isn't immediately, the impact of like people can read into different things. And I think it's a really understandable notion to want to reply with maybe not the same kindness that you're getting. And I think as humans, we can all relate of, if you see someone else doing it, you're like, wow, power to them, because they're able to take the high road, or to continue to practice kindness, even in the moments when they're not being shown it. I also wanted to say that I recently have been having a lot of, I want to go back to the conversation around female founders, because I've been having a lot of conversation with some incredible female founders. So I'll have to connect you both with the founders at Nara, Imani Collective, and Little Milk Bar, because I just had conversations. I don't know if you know any of their founders or their brands, but it's been incredible. And they also, from what I gather from our conversations, have similar experiences, and also love to be connected to other founders, and especially those who are paving the way in a seemingly maybe different, or different industry or whatnot. So it's a reminder to me to do so.
Well, as a side note to that, and I don't want to miss it, because this will benefit female founders. We're hosting an event out in California, in Coronado, San Diego area. in April, the end of April, and it's specifically for female founders with products. So if they're product entrepreneurs or inventors or whatever, we'll give you all the information, but there's going to be a pitch element of it. And then we're going to have incredible speakers and panelists, and it's going to be very hands-on for female founders in the product space. And so the pitch money, prize money will be significant. And
awesome.
Anybody that you know, we'll get you more information about that.
I would love it. We can throw the link in the bio, obviously, if you have one ready. But
and we're taking if people want to pitch a product, we're actually taking applications now for that, because we got to get it down to the top 6. And so
awesome.
If we want to pitch a product we need them. We want hundreds to look at, keep us busy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Make it hard, right? That's what we always said. We ran now I love this tangent. But we ran a competition, like a tracking page design competition, when we launched like a new product. And it was so much fun, right? Like so fun to market it and get to see submissions and everything. But it was so difficult to judge, because we were like, oh my God, like it's a great problem to have, but it's a difficult one to have to narrow them down and then ultimately choose one winner. So that's awesome. I love that you got that in as well. I think there's no lack of connections that anyone in this space would love to have. I found it's very very welcoming in that sense. So we'll be sure to share out and support. And hopefully some listeners will, put their pitches in, shoot their shot.
Absolutely. We'd love it.
Love it. Okay, so we have a couple minutes left until an hour, which it doesn't really seem like it, but these conversations always fly by. So I did want to talk about the customer experience, because we've been chatting a lot about marketing and founding the company and just operations, all of that. So once a customer orders with you, I know that Stace, you had said you email them, you ask about like, how did you... Oh, sorry, Jules does. Okay. I know you reach out to them, you email them, ask them about where they heard about you. What else are you all doing in terms of, once, say, a new customer, like a first-time customer is coming to your website, can you detail the customer experience a little bit more?
So, I mean, obviously they have to come 7 times, right? That's the kind of the number.
The magic 7.
Yep. So, I mean, just to be really transparent, we've got some work to do on this. And so, a lot of people will say they've got it all figured out. We don't. So our AOV is a higher price point, right? So it's $3.99. So people are like, what? $3.99? You got to be kidding me. But for us, we have to have emails that go out to them. We have to prove, right? One, that customers love it. So, I mean, we've got a bunch, all of our reviews on our website are 5 stars, which is amazing. So we use those reviews and kind of keep those in front of them. We use videos from customers or from us doing demos, where it sort of shows the need and the value that this product can bring to them, right? Then we also, for holiday seasons, for that customer or for that person in your life who's like the hard person to buy for, and you're always like, okay, what's the creative gift? And we always say, our gift, buying somebody a wanderer for a Christmas present, makes you the coolest person when gifts are being opened, because it's probably one of the biggest gifts, right? People are always like, oh, what's that huge gift? And then B, it's so unique that people are like, man, like that becomes the gift that they want to play with for the rest of the rest of the day. And so for us, we've been so piecemeal with our marketing that we've done campaigns that have worked, which have all been awesome. We've done campaigns that haven't worked, and we're like, oh, like that was a waste of money. But through all of it, we're learning what our customer responds to. And so it's what it is. It's very personal. It's very hands-on. It's very customer opinion forward, right? So those reviews. And so all of those things come into our marketing. And for any of our ads that we do, obviously what always works better is where they can see the product in action, and often not by us. And it's not professional videos. Those don't work for us because people feel like they're being sold to. It's always the ones that perform better are the ones that are customers doing the demos, where it's like, and what blows my mind are the videos that have gone viral on TikTok are the ones that are like through a window of an RV and it's almost feels creeperish. And I'm like, oh, this is never going to work. Those are always the ones that go viral.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it's kind of dark. I shoot it at night. Stace is given a demo to a random person who walks up. And that's the one that I'm like, oh, I shouldn't even put this out there. And then all of a sudden I'm like, notification. I'm like, oh gosh, here we go.
It was creeperish that she was recording me without knowing. Yeah. I did not sound like that.
But was it worth it if it went viral?
But it was worth it.
It was worth it.
Those are the ones that work. So I think because our product is so demonstrable, those kinds of things are the ones that we need to really focus on and double down on. And so we will, and we do.
Yeah. I think that a lot of the times on this podcast, I can see too, especially with someone who might not be as prevalent or as predispositioned to engage in like thought leadership. A lot of the times when I ask questions, sometimes we'll be like, well, I don't have the right answer. And I'm like, that's not what we're looking for. It's just whatever answer is right for you. Right. And so you saying, this is something that we know we can improve on, and that we're learning through this right now. I always love those and appreciate those types of answers. Cause like you said, it helps a lot of people who are listening to this podcast going, where the hell do I, plant my flag first? And, how do I try and even just solve this when I have XYZ goal in mind? So I very much appreciate the vulnerability and honesty and willing to share. And I think I hope the listeners are also equally enticed by this creeper video and try and find it and then find you all. It'll be like a fun little scavenger hunt. So the last, go ahead.
What you just said. Everybody's just doing the best they can, right? So even the brands that seem like they've got it all together, 100%, I guarantee you, behind the scenes, it's chaos.
They're putting out little fires everywhere.
Yes, it's because as founders, what we've learned is our key role is to be chief solution officer, right? Chief problem solver. And so anybody who appears as though they have it all together, it's just like anything on social media. That's the highlight reel. So just for your listeners to know, if they feel like they're chaotic, so is everybody else that they're watching who they feel like has it together.
Yeah. And sometimes that chaos is fun. Sometimes it's not,
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I feel like with our business coaching firm, which is called a salty rim. It's we like margaritas, but no, salt.
I love that name.
Is the missing ingredient in a company, or in things, even in recipes, even in dessert. But we found that a lot of our clients feel like they're alone, and Jules and I are very, very fortunate to have each other in this process. But so we come in with our clients and make sure that they don't feel like they're alone. And I think that becomes a struggle where people just feel like they're sitting at the top of the bottom of the mountain, just looking up, and they're like, how can I get there? And they have no idea their path. And so, so we are very fortunate that we have this relationship that we can bounce ideas off each other and navigate this mountain together.
For sure.
I love that. And following the mountain analogy of like, you never look back and see how far you've come. I don't think I'm actually saying it right, but you know what I'm alluding to. It's said way more eloquently by someone else, but gets the point across. So I love that. And I know I want to be conscious of time. We've already hit the hour mark. Thank you so much, both of you, for taking the time. It has been an absolute pleasure and joy. I love these conversations, and I have adored getting to look into your brand, getting to learn more and think through all the questions that I wanted to ask you. So thank you for being willing to join, because it's been awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you. I love what you're doing, and we're honored to be a part of just a small part of it, for sure.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.